I want to welcome you to our Tuesday night masterclass. It's so much more. And tonight we are continuing our series on the secrets of metabolic mastery. And we're talking about the secrets of metabolic mastery. And tonight specifically, the key steps to enhancing digestion for optimal metabolism and wellness. And here's the reality. If you cannot digest food, you cannot deliver energy to your body regardless of how healthy you eat. So digestion is super, super important. And as with everything that we do every single week, we are always talking about the 4 pillars of optimal wellness, right? So we're going to look at wellness through this holistic lens, looking at these 4 pillars all the time. So we're looking at balancing cellular fuel delivery all the time. And so part of digestion is kind of this phase. And then we're always looking at lifting metabolic and immune function, right? And so digestion also kind of goes into this phase as well. Then we're looking at clarifying toxic buildup and stabilizing endocrine function. And we're going to talk about how this has to do with digestion as well. And then calming daily stress and restoring nutritional energy. So as you can see, digestion in and of itself kind of talks in all of 4 of these pillars, right? Because we have nutritional energy, that's going to be nutrition. And how do we get that energy to our cells? Through, that's metabolism, right? And so digestion plays a key role. So in this series, we are have already gone over, are you suffering from stress metabolism, setting your goals, eating for energy from sunrise to sunset, where we talked about blood sugar balance and keeping your blood sugar stable throughout the day, releasing what no longer serves you, where we talked about using our tools of aromatherapy in order to help our body release not just stored weight, but also trapped emotions and toxins and everything else. And then, of course, we talked about loving your liver, which is really, really key. It's a subject that we could continue to talk, and we will continue to talk in the future about as well. And then metabolic detoxification was last week. And tonight we are on enhancing your digestion for optimal wellness. So these are the key steps to enhancing digestion for optimal wellness, or optimal metabolism and optimal wellness. So let's talk about first, what is metabolism, right? Metabolism is the process by which the body changes food and drink into energy, right? So during this process, calories in food and drinks mix with oxygen to make the energy the body needs. So this is really, really crucial, because without proper digestion, you can see that you automatically hinder metabolism, because the body can't process the food into energy, right? Because it's not going to be breaking down the food properly. So what is digestion, right? Well, digestion is really defined as the act or process of converting food into chemical substances that can be absorbed into the blood and utilized by body tissue. So it's important to understand that it's the process of converting food into the nutrients so that it's able to be absorbed, so that it's able to be metabolized and used for energy in your body. Now, digestion is literally accomplished by physically breaking down and churning and diluting and dissolving substances. It's splitting them into chemically similar compounds. So carbohydrates are broken down into monosaccharides, right? So that is a single sugar, right? Or a simple sugar. And proteins are broken down into amino acids, and fats are absorbed as fatty acids into through the digestive process. Now, anytime there's a problem with digestion, we always go from north to south in the body as we go to look to solve for it, right? So the very beginning of digestion starts way up at the top, right? It's going to start in your brain. And this literally means, like, when you think about food, then you will start to create saliva in your mouth, right? So you can go ahead and you can practice that right now. You can think of the most delicious food, or you can think of a cupcake, or you can think of, a delicious juicy steak, or, you know, whatever your favorite food is, and just think about it and your body, and imagine you eating it, and you're going to notice that your body will begin to create saliva. It's a natural reaction. So digestion actually starts in the brain. And this is actually why it is so important for us when we sit down to eat, to actually eat in a relaxed state, right? So we want to calm our nervous system a little bit. We want to take a couple of deep breaths before we eat. We want to eat with a table, a plate, and a chair, and utensils if we need them. And we want to take a moment to sit and eat so that our digestive process starts properly. So we're in a relaxed state, and our brain is able to make the right digestive juices to be able to digest our food. So from our brain, we're going down into the cephalic phase. We're continuing down in the cephalic phase of digestion, and we're talking about the mouth at this point. And basically everything from the neck up is in the cephalic phase of digestion. So we're talking about the mouth, we're talking about the teeth, we're talking about all the acts of chewing, we're talking about the esophagus as we swallow down, and as it kind of squeezes the food, as it pushes it down into to go down further into our stomach. Now, if you don't chew your food, right? If you eat too fast, if you eat in your car while you're rushed, right? If you do all those things, you won't be able to digest food properly at that point either, because you're not breaking it down. Like, so chewing your food is really, really important. Now, studies basically show us that most people don't chew their food enough, right? So you want to like focus on chewing your food until it's basically liquid in your mouth. So as we continue down through the digestive system, we go into the gastric phase of digestion. Now, this is really important because this is when food actually reaches your stomach. And inside your stomach, you have very special cells that create hydrochloric acid, right? And this is your stomach acid. In addition, we also create very specific vitamins. Well, it's actually intrinsic factor, which is a chemical. It's produced in your stomach that helps to absorb vitamins like B12 and other vitamins like that. But this stomach acid is really, really, really important, because what's interesting is as we age, our ability to create potent stomach acid actually begins to change, right? And so as we age, we might not be breaking down our food as much as we were when we were younger, right? And so this is the gastric phase, and this is basically where you're creating stomach acid, and you're creating the acids that you need for protein absorption, for mineral absorption, also for sterilization, right? This is where we're killing all of the bugs, right? The germs that come in through our mouth, because we get a lot of our toxins through our mouth. So we're killing all of those things. And so if you don't have the proper amount of stomach acid and enzymes mixing up in your stomach, you have a hard time staying healthy, right? You have a hard time keeping viruses at bay, keeping bacterias, from getting, out of hand in your body. You have a hard time digesting foods and breaking them down so that your body has the ability to absorb the amino acids and the different vitamins and minerals and things like that. And so as we get down to this place, there's a real this is really a very, very key and integral phase of digestion. And later on, we're going to talk about a very specific supplement that really, really is key right here in this gastric phase. Now, continuing on, after the gastric phase, we go into the intestinal phase. And so this is really after it's gone through the stomach, it's already gotten the bile and the gallbladder and all that kind of stuff. We come down in here to the third phase of digestion, which is your intestinal phase. And this phase is really where we get a lot of absorption, right? Like the little villi that are like this in our intestine are grabbing the nutrients and taking them into our bloodstreams. And they're actually called villi because they look like little fingers, and villi is Latin for finger. And so in this third phase, these villi basically increase the surface area of the intestine. And if you actually stretch out all of the villi, right? And then within the villi, they have even more smaller folds, and you unfold them. We call them microvilli, and we continue to unfold them. And you stretch all of those out, you would have a surface area larger than a football field. And that's how much surface area you have inside of your intestines in order for it to absorb the nutrients and to fuel all of the cells and tissues in your body. Now, this is really, really important because your body needs a lot of nutrients to make the energy for every single cell, right? Every single process that we do requires the energy, and therefore it requires a lot of nutrients. Now, remember that process of converting the food into energy, that's metabolism. That's literally what we're talking about when we're talking about this metabolic mastery concept. It's literally talking about converting these things into energy, converting chemicals into energy in the body. And so this is why we talk about in the balance of cellular fuel delivery, the very beginning pillar, the very first pillar, we talk about getting enough nutrients into the cells, and specifically getting enough nutrients through digestion into the cells, right? And so there's a lot that has to do. So this small intestine is super, super, super important. And this is where we're going to get a lot of our nutritional absorption into the body. Now, in this small intestine, we do have three sections. We have the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. And this is basically how we get from the small intestine to the large intestine. And there's a valve that controls the flow from the small intestine to the large intestine. And the large intestine is basically where we hold and we create fecal matter, right? And we hold it and create it there until we then eventually push it out of the body completely. And so all of this from beginning to end is the whole process of digestion. So when we have poor digestion, we get a lot of symptoms, right? You can have brain fog, you can have mood imbalance, right? Fatigue, bloating, inflammation, pain and discomfort, and not just pain and discomfort in the gut, but you can have pain and discomfort all over your body, right? Gas and belching. One of the biggest things is that your elimination will not be very proper, and you'll end up with food particles and even fat in your stool. And sometimes people have a very elevated amount of fat in their stool, and they notice that their stools float like a lot, right? And so that's another thing. Or they'll even get like fat in when they go to eliminate, and they'll have like fat left over in the toilet. So these are all kinds of things that are showing that you're having improper digestion. All nutrient deficiencies are, related to improper digestion. Blood sugar fluctuations, increased infections. So if you know somebody that's getting sick frequently, right? Or they're catching colds, right? Or they keep getting like some kind of viral infection or whatever over and over. Those are signs of poor digestion. And this is when we need to take these steps and really address these things, looking at digestion from the beginning to the end. like, how do we work with this, right? Because the thing that we look at is that poor digestion impacts immune function, it impacts metabolism, it impacts every single thing. And so we have to look at certain things to be able to fix it. And so tonight, Greg is not with us tonight. Normally, we would be doing the Soul Connection with our president and founder of Soul Naturals, Greg Halliday. But tonight, I want to go ahead and go over with you what are enzymes and how they can help you improve your health, and specifically how they help in connection with this digestion piece. And so first off, I want to talk about enzymes in particular, because enzymes are protein molecules which carry a vital energy factor needed for every single chemical action and reaction that occurs in our body, right? And there are several thousand different enzymes found in the human body. These enzymes then combine with coenzymes to form nearly 100,000 various chemicals that enable us to see, that enable us to hear, that enable us to feel, enable us to move, enable us to digest food, enable us to think. Like, every organ, every tissue, and every single one of our trillions of cells in our body depend upon the reaction of enzymes and the energy factor of enzymes. And we cannot talk about digestion, and we cannot talk about nutrition without describing the part that enzymes play. Because enzymes are the single biggest contributing factor to health and longevity. Now, the interesting thing about enzymes is that enzymes actually reduce in the amount the body produces as we age. So when we combine that with the fact that we consume more cooked, highly processed, refined foods than ever before, right? That we have less enzymes in our food because we cook it, we basically cook it to death, right? And because of this, it is more important now than ever to supplement the body's natural production of enzymes, right? Because if we do not supplement them, the food we eat will not be completely digested, and the waste byproducts will be deposited in areas of our body where it will become toxic. Now, I want to go over that one line just again real quick. So basically, if we're not supplementing with enzymes, the likelihood of our food actually being digested completely is a lot lower. And when that food does not get digested completely, it turns into toxic substances in our body. And our body then has to store those toxins in the body. And one of the places it stores that is in our fat cells. And the reason why it stores those toxins in our fat cells is because the body needs to protect us, and it can't put those toxins into our blood and everything else because it knows that it will get sick. So it stores it in our fat cells. Now, here's what's interesting. As we go on a health journey and we start to lose weight, or we start to release weight, we're not losing it. We don't want to find it. It's just released forever, right? As we start to release weight, one of the things that happens is we unlock those fat cells that have been stored in the fat, and the toxins that have been stored in the fat. And what happens is those toxins then go through our blood, and they have to get processed through the liver. And so one of the things that's really, really important as you begin this metabolic journey and you're focusing on weight loss is we want to make sure that we're really looking at the liver. And one of the ways we're going to help support and supplement the liver is right here with enzymes, right? And the reason why we need to do that is we need to give the body extra, because now these toxins are reduced and they're going to go to our liver. Our liver has there's a chance that the liver could get backed up and get a little bit sluggish, right? And then that causes a whole nother host of problems, which when we talked about loving our liver, we talked about that. So we want to take extra enzymes anytime we're on a fat loss journey or anytime we're on like a health journey of any sort, because we want to use these to help our body break down these nutrients, even the ones that are released into the bloodstream from our fat cells. One of the things we know about enzymes is that enzymes are really, really, really critical to immune function and everything else. So I want to go over tonight some of the ways that enzymes help to improve health. First of all, enzymes purify the blood, right? And it is known that funguses, parasites, bacteria, all of those are made up of protein, right? Viruses even have a protein coating that's, that like works as a shell to protect them, right? When you consume enzymes, whether through food, raw foods, or in supplemental form, these these enzymes, specifically the proteolytic enzymes, the proteases, break down these proteins. Now, since these invaders of our blood system are proteins, when we break down the proteins with enzymes, it breaks down the invaders also, right? It breaks down their shells that are protecting them. So if you ingest a virus through your mouth and it does get into your blood, right, then you can actually consume supplemental enzymes and the enzymes away from food, right? We're going to talk about how to do it with food in just a minute to help with digestion, but away from food on an empty stomach, consume these supplemental enzymes and they can go in the blood and start to really work on these proteins that are in the blood, right? So enzymes also strengthen the immune system, right? They've been found to deliver nutrients to our cells. They carry away toxic debris. They digest food. They purify the blood. They deliver hormones by feeding and fortifying the endocrine system and balancing the cholesterol and triglyceride levels while doing no harm to the body. Now, this is really, really important because there are things in the world that you can take that get rid, like they make the cholesterols come off of the blood vessels and things like that. But what I'm talking about is enzymes will like chew up and eat that stuff, and so that your body can flush it out and it does not harm the body, right? And there is a very direct connection between the strength of our immune system and the level of enzymes in our body. Because the more enzymes that we have, the stronger our immune system will be and the healthier and stronger we will feel. Research has shown that enzymes are related to all diseases. Every disease has an enzyme connection, whether that disease is an acute disease, right? Like we catch a cold or something, or whether it's a chronic disease that we have for a long period of time. Research has shown that every single disease that we can name on this planet, and probably even the ones that we haven't named yet, are connected to enzyme levels in the body. So this is really, really important. I don't make the statement that enzymes are literally the most important thing for health and longevity. That's not just some blanket statement I'm making. This is really, 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 really key because every single process in our body is connected to enzymes. Now, another thing that enzymes do is they break down fats, right? And research has shown that the enzyme lipase breaks down and digests fats. And what's interesting is that when you do this, it takes the stress off the gallbladder, the liver, and the pancreas, right? Now, what this does is it enhances weight loss. So what this helps with is like when we take enzymes, we will lose and release more weight if we need to. Now, if you don't need to release weight, that's okay because your body's not going to release weight. It doesn't need to release with enzymes, right? So it's not going to do any harm to the body. So it's really important. Now, one of the other things that we see, research shows, is that enzymes lowers cholesterol and triglyceride levels in the blood, right? Because the body uses glucose from the liver to feed and fortify the hypothalamus. And this glucose is made from the protein that's stored in the liver. And well, the glucose is the sugar, but then it mixes with the protein stored in the liver. And the plants have enzymes that mix with this and kind of feed your, it works with the red blood cells to carry oxygen to the brain, and along with the glucose, it feeds the brain cells, right? Now, when there is a dysfunction with this mechanism where the converting in glucose in the liver, right, with the protein that's stored in the liver, that's how we get the glucose from the food. When there's a dysfunction with that mechanism, we become weak. We become like brain fog. We are not able to think clearly, right? And the reason is because the hypothalamus gland in the body is directly connected to water balance, body temperature, appetite, and emotions, right? And so what happens is that we create the glucose in the liver. I'll go over it one more time because I know it's a little confusing the way I'd said it. We create the glucose in the liver from the nutrients that we get from our food, and we mix it with the protein stored in the liver. And then we mix that together with our red blood cells, and it carries it to the brain. Now, if we're not having that digestive process correctly in the liver, where we're not getting a proper amount of glucose to go to our brain, then it's not feeding the hypothalamus gland in our brain. And we're not able to think clearly or even have enough energy and everything else, because basically every single one of our basic metabolic functions, water balance, body temperature, appetite, and emotions, is going to be downregulated. Now, another thing that enzymes do, and this is when we get into like nutrition, and we think about this all the time, enzymes cleanse the colon, right? Because foods that are not properly digested create a sludge in the colon. And when this sludge accumulates, negative health issues begin to occur. Now, some researchers estimate that nearly 70% of all illnesses start in the colon, right? We always hear this like, oh, it all starts in the gut. Well, about 70% of illnesses actually do start in the colon. And the way they start is this undigested protein, these undigested foods in the colon or in the large intestine, it basically putrefies, right? The carbohydrates, they ferment. The fat turns rancid, right? So if we help and consume enzymes, it helps to break down these foods properly and keeps the colon free of these toxins. In fact, it is recommended by many researchers that it's healthy to have 2 bowel movements a day, right? And so if you're not having 2 bowel movements a day, this might be something that you want to look into. Now, another thing, in general, enzymes help with sleep because enzymes enhance the endocrine glands, and an undernourished endocrine system creates a malfunction in your hormonal system, which upsets your nervous system and results in abnormal sleep patterns, right? So whenever we have like hormonal imbalances, we have sleep dysfunction, right? And so when we're unable to digest food and deliver these nutrients to keep the endocrine and nervous system in balance, we can't regenerate our system and we don't get proper sleep. So enzymes help with getting proper sleep. And not only do the enzymes help, but specifically in the Vertizymes, we have amazing calming herbs that help with that process as well. Now, when we talk about metabolic mastery, one of the biggest things I get is, do enzymes help me to release weight? And the answer is yes, right? Because when we are overweight, it's because we have a metabolic imbalance. Now, it's really important to remember that this metabolism is regulated through our hormonal system, right? So through our endocrine system. And so once the food is broken down, it's mixed with all the hormones and everything to get the energy to where it's supposed to go in our body, right? And that's the metabolic process. And so we want to have our bowels working regularly. We want to have our food digesting. So it's getting, turning into fat and amino acids and all of the things. And that's what our enzymes help us to do. But not just that. Our enzymes, especially lipase, which is the enzyme that helps to break down fats, help to also burn fat and eat up the fat in our body, thus promoting weight loss as well. Now, one of my favorite things, and I know that if you've been on here before and you've heard me talk about enzymes, you've heard me say that the more you take, the more you shrink, right? And it's absolutely true, but not just shrink, but specifically shrink without having a lot of excess skin. Because I don't know if y'all have seen people that have lost a lot of weight before, and they've had like a lot of excess skin. It's because their skin doesn't stay elastic. Now, what's interesting is enzymes help maintain healthy elastic skin because an adequate supply of enzymes is absolutely essential for keeping the skin looking young and looking healthy, right? Because enzymes fight the aging process by increasing the blood supply to the skin, right? It literally gives nutrients to the skin and carries away waste products that make our skin appear older, make it feel more dull, right? Make wrinkles more pronounced, right? So our circulation actually slows down to the skin as we age, and we can get things called crepey skin, where the skin is just really tired. Enzymes will help to combat that because it really fortifies the skin with the proper circulation and nutrients to eliminate that crepey effect or the tired skin effect, right? So if we want to counteract that aging process, one of the best things that we can do is enzymes, because like I said, the biggest connection there is as we age, we produce less enzymes anyways. So giving our body enzymes in supplemental form will help us to combat those effects. Now, here's what's really interesting as well, is that enzymes help you to maintain proper pH balance. And this has actually been shown that when you consume supplemental enzymes, that your urine will maintain a proper pH level. So what's important about that is it helps to keep infections in the bladder and urinary tract at bay, right? And keeps them away. So these are some of the keys to why enzymes, how they can help to improve your health, why you hear me talk about them so much, about how key they are. I definitely consider them one of the kind of the must include supplements in our daily routine. So is that why we take enzymes at night with the ProBio? So we take enzymes at night. It's recommended at night on an empty stomach because it can go in and it can help you to clean the blood. It helps you to clean out the proteins left over in the brain. You know that when you think all day, your brain is literally producing proteins and it like just sticks them all around your brain. And so then at night, when we go to sleep, our brain is literally detoxed all night. And then there's like these lines right here that connect to our lymphatic system right here. And so from our brain, it's called glymph, and it goes right down into here and connects to our lymphatic system. And so when we take them at night, it'll go in there. It helps to clean out the little proteins in the brain. Oh, because the reason why not all enzymes do that, the reason why our enzymes do that is because they're small enough to get across the blood-brain barrier. I will let you know that. It's because we have the entire spectrum of pH in our protease enzyme. So just FYI, like if you go to another place and you just grab something, you know, for like $3 at Walmart or something, I can't guarantee that that will be the case, right? I happen to know that in our Vertizymes, that it contains the entire spectrum of pH, and like all the sizes basically is what that means, that work and operate in the body at all the different levels, and they can actually cross the blood-brain barrier and work to clean out the proteins in the brain. And we can talk about in another class why that is super important. So super neat. And yes, so that is why we take it at night. I will tell you though, if you are struggling with digestion, I would buy the bigger bottle of enzymes, of Vertizymes, and I would take 2 at any meal that's like a decent sized meal. Like if you're having, I don't take Vertizymes all the time if I have like a smoothie or a shake, right? But some people might, like, because if you added Solle Complete or Solle Royal to your shake, right, where you have a lot more protein and your body is not optimally digesting protein yet because your digestion hasn't been cleaned out, and you do have, some issues in your small intestine still, you might need Vertizymes, right, at that meal. I personally don't, because when I blend up my shake, it's kind of pre-digested and I don't have a problem. But if you do, I would recommend taking Vertizymes. Especially, I know that when people add Solle Royal, they sometimes need a little help, right? It's just in the digestion of protein.
And with infatuate.
What?
And with infatuate too.
Oh, infatuate as well. Yeah, for sure. And that would be the digestion of the fat. And yeah, so that's a really good one. And so, yeah, so we take the enzymes. And so I'm going to come to this on an empty stomach. So if you want to use them for digestion, you want to take them with food. Oh, and let me give you a secret on that, because I get this all the time. You actually want to take your enzymes before you eat, right? So like when you eat, but like right before you're going to eat the food, not after. And I'll tell you, because the digestion process starts immediately when it hits the stomach. So you want to put the enzymes in the stomach and like it's sitting there waiting to catch the food. And then the food comes down and starts getting broken down by the enzymes immediately. So if you want to have proper pre-digestion of your food, you want to take your Vertizymes before you eat, like at the same time you're eating, but before. Then in order for it to clean your blood and all of, clean out the brain plaques and all of those kinds of things, you want to take your enzymes and help to keep your immune system and all that kind of good stuff. You want to take them without, like on an empty stomach, right? So you can take them at night, like 2 to 3 hours after you've eaten and your stomach has emptied. You can take them then. And I had somebody ask me the other day, how do I know my stomach has emptied after 2 hours, right? It has emptied. You might still feel full because the food is in your small intestine, but it's not in your stomach, right? And what's going to happen is, because the stomach is emptied, it usually empties within 20 to 30 minutes. Because the stomach is emptied, the enzymes are going to go in there and they're going to get absorbed right there. Like they're not actually going to go into the small intestine everywhere. It's going to happen right there in the enzymes. So, just to answer the question, because I see that again, when's the best time to take it? Those are for 2 different reasons. If you're mainly taking it to help to purify the blood, like for wellness and for immune system support and all of that stuff, to help you sleep, to help you, clean out the proteins in the brain and all of those things, then take it on an empty stomach. And you can take it with your ProBio IQ at night. That's really the easiest way to do it. If you're using it for digestive support, then you're going to take it with your meals, and I would take it before the meal, but at the same time. So like right when you eat, and then take your 2 Vertizymes, and then you can eat, and it'll be like waiting to digest your food. I will tell you, if you're not having 2 bowel movements a day, add Vertizymes to your meals, because it will help you to get to that magic number of 2 bowel movements a day. It will help you get there. And you can come back to me in a future class and you can chat in and say, you're right, it did, because that's exactly it. You can't overdose on them. You cannot overdose on enzymes. Never, ever, since the beginning of history, has there been a case of somebody overdosing and having a negative side effect from enzymes. I'm going to tell you the only thing that can happen. You might have more watery stools because it broke down. Like if you like took the whole bottle, right, and it like broke down everything that was left in there, it might come out a little bit more liquidy than you were ready for, right? But that's okay, because it's not gonna be that big of a deal. So you can't like, as far as like dosing, and I see like questions about that, you can't overdose. Like you can literally take it, like if you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner and you needed it 2, 2, and 2, you can take it at every single one of those meals and then still take 3 at night, and you're going to be perfectly fine. You're going to be perfectly fine. Like you're not going to have too many. And if you feel like you're having like it's going through your bowels too fast and it's starting to get like watery stools, then just take less, right? It's that simple. Just take less or up your fiber, one or the other. or both. Will enzymes help with wrinkles too? Yes. Yeah. That it really helps with the skin elasticity. I'm telling you, when I tell people like to add enzymes anytime they're looking to lose weight, they're amazed by the process. I'm amazed. I actually take a lot of enzymes because I had multiple C-section births, and I was always told that skin where, so one of my C-sections is vertical because I had to have a tumor removed at the same time. And then one of them is like the new way that's nice and pretty. But my vertical incision, like I was always told that skin would never, like that part of my stomach would never go back. It would just always be, because basically all the nerves and everything were cut all the way through. And so I always thought that was going to be the case. I'll tell you, I was always told that it would be numb for the rest of my life and I would never be able to feel that. And if you talk to people that have had C-sections, they'll tell you that like that part of their stomach is numb. Well, let me tell you, when I started taking NeuroIM, this is totally side note. When I started taking NeuroIM, after a year, all of a sudden I had feeling in my abdominal area where my C-sections had been. So talk about being able to regenerate nerves. I'm just saying, it's pretty amazing. But the other thing that I notice is as I've lost weight, and guys, I've lost over 126 pounds. So I had excess skin. When most people see me, they expect to see a lot more excess skin. And I know that the reason why I don't have so much excess skin on my abdominal, like in that area, even though I had multiple C-sections, is because I take Vertizyme. I buy it in the 180 count and we literally eat it in this family like candy. Like it's amazing. My daughter takes a ton of it. She has eczema. And one of the things that we notice, because eczema is always digestive related, right? One of the things that we notice is if she continues to take her Vertizymes, she doesn't have eczema breakouts. And she has, from before Solle, she has like scars and stuff on her legs, but we don't have any eczema breakouts anymore, as long as she stays continuing taking her Vertizymes and it helps with her digestion. So we literally consume Vertizymes like it's going out of style. So for someone that doesn't do with wells, can we open the capsule and put it in a drink? So you can. I will tell you that it will start. So the way enzymes work is the moment that they get wet or hot, which in your body they get hot, they activate, right? So they're literally in a raw form and then they activate and they start working the moment they get wet or hot. So if you put it in a drink, you just need to get it in quickly. Like don't sit it around because they're going to start digesting that thing, right? I've seen people like if you take a Vertizymes and you put it in pudding, it's going to turn the pudding into liquid, right? So it's starting to digest and break down those things. So you can do it. If you cannot do a capsule, you can definitely throw in a drink. So I want to, first of all, thank you everybody for coming tonight. I appreciate it. It looks like we had some new one. If you are new to me, thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you again, same time next Tuesday. Y'all have a great night. Bye-bye.